Kia ora everybody and welcome back to Civilization 5. My name's JumboPixel and today I'm going to take you through Venice, the Republic of. Venice is probably, to be fair, one of the worst cities in Civ 5. And the reason why Venice is so bad, if you haven't read ahead and you don't know already, is because of how Venice is structured. So when you're playing as Venice, you cannot build more settlers. You just can't. Venice cannot build more settlers. There is no way for you to build or gain settlers. You can't even steal them or anything like that. So when I'm sitting here on turn 1 looking at my settler, I'm making some pretty important decisions in my head because this is actually the only time I'm going to settle a city. What else is unique about Venice? Well, to make up for the fact that you can't settle cities, Venice has 2 times the amount of trade routes compared to a normal Civ. Its unique unit is the Great Merchant of Venice, which replaces the standard Great Merchant. And also the Great Galleass, but you may not really use that, so I won't cover that too much in this video. The other final thing is that Venice can make purchases in puppeted cities, i.e. cities that you don't control directly, but they are under your realm of control. Perhaps you captured it from an enemy and puppeted it, or you took advantage of Venice's unique unit, the Great Merchant of Venice, which has a special ability, which you'll see slightly later in the video, that allows you to take control of a city-state. You basically walk your Great Merchant to Venice, not to Venice, away from Venice to the city-state, click the wee button down the bottom, and the city-state is yours. The only catch is, it's a puppeted city, not an annexed one. So you don't directly control its production, you don't have direct control over lots of its politics and citizen management, but thanks to Venice you can make purchases in the city. So that's what Venice does. Now, in the next part of this video, I'm going to take you through where to put Venice, and some more information on starting right. Because where to put Venice and starting right is so important, because this is your one and only city that you will place. And sure, you may pick up others along the way through warfare or using your Great Merchant of Venice, but chances are they will never be as good as Venice because you don't have direct control over them. So Venice must be significant. Now you will have noticed in the last couple of minutes I've been sort of looking around and trying to quickly find an area to put Venice, and I actually took a few turns to place it, a few turns too many. And also, on hindsight, I made a slightly wrong decision, but let me take you through what I was looking for. I was looking to put Venice on a hill for +2 production, right? It's a bonus +2 production if you put Venice on a hill. I was also, ideally, kind of wanted to have it next to a mountain, which would let me build the observatory later in the game. I wasn't able to do that. Water access is fundamental. Totally fundamental. Now, if there's really no way you can get water access, you do have means to produce naval units and get access to the water later in the game when you use your Great Merchant to take a city-state, like I'm about to do here. You'll see just that little button on the left, click, boom, and now the city-state is mine. Right, and this one has access to water, so maybe I didn't need it in my capital. The counter-argument to that is actually you do, because your capital is your best city, and you need as much production as you can, right? So geography, Venice's geography is so important. And the last factor is, I haven't quite managed it here with Venice because Budapest is quite close to me, but ideally you want a 3-tile wide area around your city because Venice is going to get big and you're going to need as many tiles under its control as you can to build improvements. So yeah, ideally you want some free space. Now, while I'm on the tech tree, let's talk about the other factor to starting the game right, and that's your technology tree and your cultural policies. So, technology tree. I recommend you shoot for pottery, and then whatever you need to capture your luxuries, and you should also try and move quickly along the top of the tree through sailing and then into optics, because when you reach optics and research optics, you're given a free Great Merchant. So you can get your Great Merchant really early, you can send it to a city-state, use it to bring that city-state under your control, or use its other one-off ability which earns you a whole load of culture and gold. But really you're probably wanting to bring that city-state under your control. So research optics, get your free Great Merchant, and spam him out to the nearest city-state, and for goodness sake, keep him safe. On the cultural front, you've seen me dabble a little bit in this video already with the policies, but really, this should come as no surprise to hardened veterans of Civ. You're going to want to choose the tradition tree. Tradition is designed for small empires and strong capital cities. The bonuses within it provide free worker, reduced unhappiness, 10% growth in the capital, all sorts of bonuses. You'll want to unlock that tree probably in full, and probably as quickly as you can, or at least get the first 3 policies. Finally, I would also recommend that you go down the diplomatic route and pick up some policies from a different tree, like piety, that let you befriend city-states. So that's how to start right, and an overview of what Venice does. Now let's talk strategy, and I'm carrying out one of my most significant strategies right now as I dogpile on Catherine and her capital city, Moscow. Thanks, by the way, and huge shout out to everybody who joined me live while I was recording this for our 1,000 subscriber celebration, and an even larger shout out to the super chat donors, Tyler, F, Blockachock YT, Johnny, and me, who donated in the super chat. Really appreciate you guys. They were really bloodthirsty. There's a reason why I'm attacking Moscow so early. It's because chat was like, get her. But let me tell you a little more about some of the strategies. So the first one is to move relatively early, i.e. within the first 100 turns, and capture an enemy capital. I'm doing it with Moscow because the Russian Empire was so weak. It was so easy. I mean, look, I've only got a few units. Most of them were gifted to me. I'll get to that later. And taking a capital, really important. Why? Well, obviously you can't build cities. So the first thing is you kind of guarantee a good city because the start bonus has probably given the AI a good starting point, right? And so any capital you control is great. Obviously, it's movement towards an aggressive victory, which I won't recommend, but you could go for it if you want to. And of course, it gives you an extra trading post on a different island, yada yada yada. You can't go wrong. It also really weakens that player. So just, yeah, a really good move. I would recommend, if you can, try and capture 1 foreign capital. Ideally within the first 100 turns, but whenever you can manage it is fine. Another one of my strategies that I tried to go through as I'm playing Venice is wonders. There are a few wonders, both national and unique, that are really important. Colossus in the early game is really strong, and some people will say you should focus down Colossus and build that before anything, really. I didn't do that, but I respect it. The other one that's really important to me is the East India Trading Company. You want to pick that up because you're going to be doing a lot of trade and relying on gold really heavily. That's what Venice does well. Venice makes big money, and anything you can do to support that, even better. So once you've captured a capital city, like I did to Catherine, with really little penalty because I did it so early in the game, the other thing you're going to want to monitor throughout your playthrough, and an important part of Venice's strategy, is happiness. Because we're tailoring Venice to be a really large, significant powerhouse of a capital, its population's going to get big, and that's going to have a real impact on your unhappiness. So just keep in mind that you do need to build happiness buildings, particularly if you're annexing cities as well. That's going to give you even more, puppeting cities, that's going to give you even more unhappiness if you're doing it through the military route. It doesn't if you do it diplomatically with the Merchant of Venice. But yeah, keep on top of your happiness, and don't be afraid to use cultural policies to support that. The next thing is city-states. So city-states are going to be a big part of your game. And the reason why that is because Venice is a powerhouse, Venice is a trade powerhouse, and Venice is, because of that, because it can produce so much gold and it can't settle and it relies on trade and diplomacy, the diplomatic victory win condition is one that I would recommend. I think it's the best victory condition for Venice outside of a science victory, which can be equally as strong. So keep city-states on your side. As you progress into the later game and you unlock some piety cultural policies, you'll be able to buy them with gold gifts really easily and let them become your allies. You gain access to their luxuries, so on and so forth. It snowballs. It's really strong. And tip for the wise, if you can find some military states, you want to make them your ally as quickly as you can because they'll give you units. And then Venice can focus on growing and not focus on producing units. So another really important tip. I have already covered trade routes, but I did also want to say I've made a little note here. Just make sure you keep on top of them. You'll notice throughout this video and throughout the whole stream, I just couldn't keep up. I was constantly building more trade routes, and at the end of the game, my capacity was about 16 or something, I think. So just keep on top of them, because as you go through the game and you start unlocking perhaps some commercial policies and going down the tech tree, getting your banks and your stock exchanges up and running, you'll make like 30 or 40 gold quite easily. There's me donating as a super chat. Lol. Yeah, and so in those city-states, keep up with their quests, because they're super important too. Finally, and this is sort of more towards late game strategy with Venice, which I'll cut to in just a minute. Check out my late gameplay, it's insane. But yeah, so toward the late game, I would really recommend you adopt the freedom ideology. And that is because one of the perks within freedom allows you to purchase spaceship parts with gold. So you can maneuver your way towards a science victory and sort of relying on and falling back on your insane wealth as a part of that. But you do need to, of course, ensure that you have enough science to keep up with that demand. So do make sure that you're building your science buildings, that you're working towards science technologies as quickly as you can. And toward the late game, that means researching plastics and getting the research lab. So just keep up with your science, focus down your gold, and you will be a militaristic powerhouse, because you'll eclipse others in terms of technology, and you'll be able to go for a science victory, a really quick one, by buying spaceship parts. And if that fails, because throughout the game you've focused on city-states and on sort of building relationships with them, building alliances with them, and maybe even toward the end of the game using them for votes in the World Congress to vote you as world leader, you'll have a good safeguard, a good wallet to fall back on to make purchases in cities, buy units in case the AI attacks you, which they will try and do, buy nukes like I have here, and all sorts of other things. And I think that, in a nutshell, is sort of my ideal strategy for Venice. And you can see here, this is a still and some footage taken from the end of my game and the end of the live stream. It was a mammoth 6-hour game. With Venice, a civ that is bad, but that I really love. It's one of my favorites. I didn't cover that off at the start, but I know that there's a few of you regular subscribers and viewers who watch these guides and videos through to the end, and so I like to, share more sort of personal commentary and insights towards the end of this guide. These guides, I should say. So yeah, just, I guess what I wanted to say is just thanks so much for everybody who tuned into that live stream. But more importantly, let me summarize what we've gone through today before the end of the video. This is my how to play Venice in a minute or less, I suppose. So the overview: you can't build settlers, but you can build a lot of trade routes and take over city-states thanks to the great merchant of Venice. When you place Venice, you only get to do it once. I'd recommend that you have access to the ocean, and if you can, you either build on a hill for the production bonus or next to a mountain for the science bonus when you unlock observatory. You'll also want to make sure you have a 3-tile wide area around Venice, because you're going to be working every single one of those tiles. I mean, look at my Venice here. It's about to be population 48. And it would have easily made it to 50. It was growing so fast. Venice is going to get big. So make sure you prepare for that. Prepare for it with happiness. Prepare for it with gold. Befriend city-states, particularly militaristic ones. They'll provide you with units. Keep on top of your unhappiness. Build that mega capital. Focus on science and gold. Take freedom as your ideology. And when all else fails, whether it's early or late in the game, be sure to absolutely dogpile one other player in the game. Pick on the weakest one if you like, and take their capital. It'll ruin their diplomatic victory chances. It'll significantly boost yours. You'll have a guaranteed extra good city. And when all else fails, if you get really bored, you can dogpile Catherine some more and take some more of her cities. Anyway, that concludes my guide, tips, tricks, walkthrough to Venice. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.